Good morning, everybody, and welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mystic Raven. We're gonna have a pretty decent episode today because today we're going to be going over what's going on with the Warden class and a couple things we know. Now, I'm actually going to be using the forums for this, and unfortunately, I'm having a couple of problems actually trying to transfer over the screen. It will only show like one page, and then it locks up. I have to take a look at that, why that's occurring. But I'm going to tell you guys, if you want to go look at this more in detail after I cover it, you can go to ESO forums, and the title is called Warden Class Skills, What We Know So Far and Updated. And it actually was posted by Veho. So I'm actually going to go ahead, break this down for the players who don't know what's going on with the Warden and what's been, put out there as so far as we know. So first thing we're going to be taking a look at is the first skill tree, which is Winter's Embrace. So the ultimate for this is called Sleet Storm. It's an instant cast. It has an area effect of 10 meters and duration is 8 seconds. The cost ultimate is 200. All enemies near you are snared for 1 second and take heavy X amount of frost damage. Nearby allies gain major protection, reducing income damage by 30%. Now, there's two morphs, obviously. Morph 1 causes enemies who take 3 to 4 ticks of damage from this ability to become stunned, knocked down for a duration. And then second morph is passively grants 8% max magicka while slotted. Wow, that second one is pretty huge for the caster. And first one I would say is more tank, but that's pretty badass. So, Magic Caster Morph 2 looks like it. Morph 1 definitely would be, I think, more tank oriented. First skill, Arctic Wind. Cast time, instant. Target self, duration 10 seconds. Heal self for 11% of your max health instantly, an additional 2% health every 2 seconds over 10 seconds. Morph also deals AoE damage equal to the valued healed. Morph 2 now heals an ally as well. That can either go tank or healer. So Morph 2 is definitely going to be, more healer type. But you know what? Templars are the only healer, guys. Just, I'm joking. Being sarcastic ass. But yeah, that definitely would be. Morph 2 is definitely more healer. Morph 1, it seems like tank. So we'll leave it at that. Moving on. Ice Fortress. Cast time, instant. Target area, radius 12 meters, duration 24 seconds. You and nearby allies gain major resolve, increasing physical resistance by 5,280, and major ward, increasing spell resistance by 5,280. Now, keep in mind, guys, this says you and nearby allied, which is pretty kind of. I'm taking it will apply to your allies as well, and probably your pet, if you will. Morph 1 grants minor protection to caster, reducing damage taken by 8%. Morph 2 increased the radius to 28 meters. So I definitely could see that Morph 2 being used in trials. And definitely this is more, tank oriented all the way. Impaling Shards, instant, area 6 meters, duration 10 seconds. Deals X frost damage to targets in the area every 1 second for 10 seconds. Targets become snared for 4 seconds. That sounds like a DPS. Now, they only have one morph. They don't know about second. But damage is done based on your max health. This is what it's stating here. So that's kind of interesting. Morph 1. Targets struck 4 times by this skill becomes rooted. Okay. Morph 2, nothing updated as of yet. Crystallized Shield. Instant. Target. Self. Cast time 6 seconds. Absorb spell projectiles, restoring X magic. This can happen up to 3 times. Morph. Now returns stamina rather than magicka. Tank. Absorbs projectile, granting major heroism. Both tank. It's kind of interesting. You could probably use this on DPS, restoring X magicka. That could definitely help. So, if you wanted to go with the absorb projectile and get the major heroism for a DPS and keep the magicka, you can. And if you want to go with a stam tank or a stam DPS, you can go either way. Good for PvP or tanking. That's going to be good. Frozen Gate, instant, target ground, range 28 meters, radius 5 meters, duration 30 seconds. Summon a portal on the ground. When an enemy runs over it, they are teleported to you and are rooted for 2 seconds. If the target is immune, they will take X frost damage. Now, that is interesting, but for the frost damage, the rooted is kind of, you can only have one active at a time, and it's removed after activation. The morphs. Applied major maim for a short time to teleport an enemy. Tank. Morph 2. Allies may walk into the trap and activate a synergy to teleport them to the Warden. Wow! That could be used for the healer. That is definitely a nice ability for a healer, especially in trial. If you need to get closer to the healer, and all of a sudden you just move on there, activate the synergy, you'll get out of any effect. That's pretty badass, actually. That is badass. Also PvP, just get up there, hit it, boom, teleport away. Now here's the passive skill line for this tree. Glacial Presence. Increase the chance of applying chilled to the enemies with Winter's Embrace abilities by 200%. Okay, so definitely getting the status effect. That's kind of cool. Frozen Armor. Increase your physical and spell resistance by 500 for each Winter Embrace ability slotted. Definitely tank. We know that this tree line was looking more tankish. Definitely DPS too. So we got a mix between DPS and tank. Icy Aura. Reduce the effectiveness of snares applied to you by 15%. Definitely tank. Piercing Cold. Increase your physical and cold damage by 6%. That's on both DPS. So for sure, physical and cold damage. So if you're going to go cold damage caster, you get that 6% boost, and stam users flat 6%. Okay. Next skill line is Green Balance. Active skills. Ultimate Healing Thicket. Well, let's repeat that. Healing Thicket. I'm looking forward to this. Cast time, instant, target ground, range 28 meters, radius 8 meters, duration 6 seconds, cost 75 ultimate. Nice. Instantly heals the lowest health ally in the area by X amount, and then heals all allies in the area by X every 1 second over 6 seconds. So it has the instant effect, and it has a dot effect for the other allies. That's pretty badass. When effect ends, allies continue to receive X healing over 4 seconds. Nice hot. Definitely nice hot and affordable. Morph. Healing a low health ally returns 20 ultimate. Jeez. That's like a continuous. Holy crap. You'll be casting that every so many. Shit. Morph 2. Adds more healing over time. Shit, I take Morph 1 every day, all day. Shit. Hell yeah. That's pretty badass. Fungal Growth. Cast time, instant, target, cone, radius 20 meters. Instantly grow a large area of mushrooms, healing all allies in cone in front of you for X health. So they only have one morph. They don't know what the second morph is. Allies affected gain minor intellect and minor endurance, and increasing magicka and stamina regeneration by 10% for 20 seconds. Yeah, so kind of knew this was going to be, something. Definitely utility, healer. Nice. That's good. Healing Seed. Well, we know where this whole tree is going. Cast time, instant, target ground, range 28 meters, radius 8 meters, duration 6 seconds. Summon a field of flowers, which heals X health after 6 seconds. And only one can be activated at a time. Allies may activate Healing Seed Synergy to gain an instant heal for X health. That is so badass. Thank you, devs. I need some synergies. Morph. Synergy is stronger. Morph 2. Enemies who enter the field will get Major Defile, reducing healing received by X for 4 seconds. That is completely a nice PvP stam for the Major Defile. That would be badass utility for a stam user for PvP. Telling you. Living Trellis. Cast time, instant, target area, 20 by 12 meters, durations 10 seconds. Grow vines to embrace you and the lowest health ally in front of you for 10 seconds. The vines heal the targets for X health each time they take damage. This effect can occur every 1 second. When the vines expire, they heal the target for an additional X amount of health. You can only have one living trellis active at a time. Morph applies minor lifesteal to targets who damage allies within your living trellis. Nice. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Has a little, DPS. Lotus Blossom. Cast time instant. Target area radius 8 meters. Duration 20 seconds. While active, 26% of the damage caused by your light and heavy attacks also heal nearby allies. That is badass. Because you put that with the restoration staff, which, heals 30% for heavy damage inflicted, and then add this ability. Oh, hell yeah. Awesome. Awesome. That is badass. Casting also gains major caster also gains major prophecy, gaining spell critical by X for 20 seconds. This is nice too, even though a lot of people are going to keep inner light on. I don't see them taking it off anytime soon because of the max magicka. But hey man, major prophecy, cool deal. Nature, unless you're PvPing, PvP you might not. You might want to, it depends. But most people are going to keep inner light on, even in that situation. Nature's Embrace. Cast time instant. Range 22 meters. Pull yourself to a target ally. You and ally heal X every second for 10 seconds. Morph adds a burst heal once pulled. Well, yeah, nice. Morph 2, nothing up. Passives. Nature's Gift. When healing an ally with a green balance ability, gain 250 magicka. Nice. That's going to be awesome towards sustain. That's going to be badass, actually, for sustain. I will say that. So, depending on how much sustain you can pull, you might not need inner light because you'll have so much sustain, you might not even need to slot that on your heal build because you'll get that major prophecy. But questionable, you'd have to be one of your first abilities just to keep it up. But kind of interesting for the sustain. Accelerated growth. When healing an ally under 50% health with a green balance ability, you gain major mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 8 seconds. I don't think this really bothers me because I gain major mending on my weaves anyways through the restoration staff. So even if they're above 50%, I'll get that on the weave, and then I'll get major mending, more. I don't have to worry about it while they're under. So it kind of goes hand in hand. That's pretty good. Emerald Moss. Increase healing done by X for each green balance ability slotted. That's kind of like the Nightblade healers and their siphons. For every ability they have slotted, they get a boost. Maturation or something. I don't know. I can't even get this one down. When healing an ally with a green balance ability, grant them major toughness, increasing max health 10% for 20 seconds. Okay. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, animal companions. They've already went over this. I will just cover it again just in this video. Feral Guardian Ultimate. Cast 2.5 seconds. Target self. So you gain a grizzly that deals X amount of magic damage. They actually wrote magic. That doesn't even seem right. How does a bear deal magic damage? Devs, that better not be right. That should be physical damage all day, every day. And even the morph, I don't know, man. That's nuts. Dude, you guys need to change that shit. That's what, if they're like, oh, it'll scale. That doesn't even read right. Whatever. Once summoned, you can activate. I want to see a bear walk around with a wand or some shit. Once summoned, you can activate Guardian Savage for 75 ultimate, causing X magic damage and deals 100% additional damage to targets under 25%. Okay, because that's kind of like the little finisher that we're talking about. The Grizzly attacks do an additional 12% damage. Okay. All right. Dive. Instant. Target enemy, range is 28 meters. Command a cliff racer to dive bomb the enemy, dealing X amount of magic damage. Cutting. So the morphs is cutting dive. Command a cliff racer to dive bomb the enemy, dealing X physical damage. Stamina based morph. Screaming cliff racer. Command a the cliff racer to dive bomb the enemy, dealing X amount of magic damage, dealing 15% increased damage against enemies at longer range. So that's kind of cool. They got the two right there. Stam and Magicka. Scorch. Instant area 20 by 7 meters. Duration 3 seconds. Stir a group of shocks that attack after 3 seconds, dealing X magic damage to enemies in front of you. That's a little AoE effect. Little whatever. Subterranean assault. Stir a group of shocks that attack after 3 seconds, dealing X poison damage to enemies. That's definitely Stam. In front of you, enemies damaged are inflicted with Major Breach and Major Fracture, reducing their spell resistance and physical resistance by 5,280 for 10 seconds. Stamina based, of course. Deep Fissure. Stir a group of shocks that attack after 3 seconds, dealing X magic damage to enemies in front of you. Your eruption stuns one enemy for 3 seconds. That's pretty good. Swarm. Instant enemy 28 meters, 10 seconds. Unleash a swarm of Fletcher flies to relentlessly attack an enemy, dealing X magic damage over 10 seconds. AoE. Fetcher Infection. Unleash a swarm of Fetcher flies to relentlessly attack an enemy, dealing X magic damage over 10 seconds. Every other cast deals 75% increased. Growing Swarm. Unleash a swarm of Fletcher flies to relentlessly attack an enemy, dealing X magic damage over 10 seconds. When ability ends, Fletcher flies infect up to 6 new targets. So, in my opinion, the first morph is really going to be cool for PvE. On single target. On the second one, it's more, trash mobs. But for PvP, Growing Swarm is probably going to be the way to go. It's just, when it ends. So, Betty Netch. Instant Self. Duration 24 seconds. Call a Betty Netch that restores X magic over 22 seconds. Gain Major Sorcery, increasing spell damage by 20% over 24 seconds. And this ability also the morphs. This ability also removes one negative effect, so that's before the morph. Blue Betty. Call Blue Betty that restores X magic over 22 seconds. Gain Major Sorcery, increasing spell damage by 20% over 24 seconds. When activated, removes one negative effect, so it's a longer duration. It seems like no, the X. I don't see the difference. There is none from this. It might have been a typo. Bull Netch. Call Betty Netch that restores X stamina and gain Major Brutality. Definitely. Falcon Swiftness. Instant. Target self. Duration 10 seconds. Invoke a Spirit of Agility to gain Major Expedition, increasing movement speed by 30% for 10 seconds. Gain Major Endurance, increasing stamina recovery for 20 seconds over 10 seconds. Morphs. Deep. Deceptive Falcon. Invoke the Spirit of Agility to gain Major Expedition, increasing movement speed by 30% for 10 seconds. And Major Endurance, increasing stamina recovery for 20% over 10 seconds. Gain Minor Evasion, also increasing dodge chance by 5% for 10 seconds. That's pretty badass. Bird of Prey. Invoke a Spirit of Agility to gain Major Expedition, increasing movement speed for 30% for 10 seconds. And Major Endurance, increasing stamina recovery. But this one's going to give you Minor Berserk, increasing damage done by 8%. So if you're the tank, you take the first one. Definitely DPS second. Builder. Passives. Bond with Nature. When one of your animal companions is killed or unsummoned, you restore 1,386 health. Depending on the scenario, guys, you can probably anticipate this passive might get a slight nerf. Might. Because it's going to act like sorcerers. But is it with some of those niches and things going on and Fletcher flies, is it going to be overkill? I don't know. We'll have to see. But if it is, you can bet your ass they're going to kick this down a notch. Not to say they'll get rid of it or replace it, but they'll put probably like a timer or something because that's every. I mean, that can stack. That's not time. That's not every second, or every whatever. So if I have multiple pets out that are despawning and stuff, this will stack. That health restore will stack. I can see that being problematic, but Savage Beast, damaging an enemy with an animal companion ability grants 4 ultimate. This effect has a cooldown of 8 seconds. So there it is, right there. You have a specific of 8 seconds. So that's not too bad, but Flourish, increase your magicka and stamina recovery by 12% if an animal companion ability is slotted. Okay, so even the stand builds that are going to use 2 of these is going to get a nice recovery boost, and especially magicka. And if you're going to be a healer, you might slot 1 or 2. That's going to give you a nice boost. Magicka DPS, maybe at least 1 for the AoE. That'll give you a nice little sustain. Advanced species, increase your damage done for animal companion abilities by 2% for each animal companion ability slotted. For STAM users, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. And I think you're going to see a magic hybrid type build that also will work with this for magicka DPS. Won't be like anything trial based, but it'll there's potential there for magicka like melee. So this is pretty much what we're kind of going over with the Warden, what's been out there. A couple of things are missing, but this user, Veho, has kept up everything pretty good, guys. So Veho, thumbs up. I will be linking this after this episode, and I get everything updated. So I know that, I'm in game and I lost connection. So... that's what happens when I'm reading off and I'm not paying attention to what's going on in the game. But, yeah, guys, for the most part, I wanted to really kind of go over all of this in today's episode and just definitely kind of go over everything as much as possible. Couple of the things that I'm kind of interested in seeing when we're taking a look at this, right, is there's no max magicka in the passives, no max stamina there, or weapon damage, or anything that we're accustomed to. So all of our damage is deriving more from, slotting abilities. What we're going to slot, what we're not going to slot, So that's going to, make a difference. It's going to be a little bit more finicky when it becomes to our playstyle and how the damage output is going to increase or decrease. So, it's not like Night Blades, get max magicka for each ability slotted or max health for each ability slotted. You're definitely, same thing with Templars and weapon damage and things like that. DKs, this kind of reminds me a little bit more like DK. Because like DK's damage output is by the status effect between their poison and their fire. So we're kind of getting something similar across those lines with the Warden. But they're adding the passive like builders and buffs applied to the passives instead of more to the skill line. To the abilities, more to the skill line than the abilities. I think that's kind of interesting because it takes a little bit backwards approach, but everything's still there. So very interesting how that works. I think the Warden Healer is definitely going to... A couple of things I'm really looking forward about the Warden Healer. It's definitely going to start showing more viability and moving away from more Templar healers. I've been telling people... for, the entire year now that I've been doing this, that Templars, you don't need 2 Templars in Trials, right? In 4-mans, you don't necessarily need a Templar at all. But, I mean, they're good on utilities, but each healer build brings something unique. So, I did a bunch of Trials this weekend, and... I got praised on one occasion by a couple players for my DK healer, which was pretty awesome. So because we had a Templar, so it was a Templar. It was one Templar, and it was me, and everything was moving like clockwork, like just clockwork. He was laying down the shards. He had the Ellie drain. I had the mitigation. I had the twilights on. So I'm throwing out Magicka regen, hots. It was going a lot. Everything was firing really well. And for the Templar healer, for the Warden, I mean, it's going to, I think, get more people in a mindset that, okay, we're going to use one Templar healer and we're going to use the Warden. What the Warden's definitely going to be offering is a lot more effects for group play style. Now, is that going to mean, are people going to become toxic in saying we need one Templar and we need one Warden in a trial? I anticipate a lot of people are going to do that. That's not the case. It never was the case in this game. Like I said, you want to maximize, but each build, depending on the structure of your playstyle, what you need and what you're missing, you can kind of work around. Because, like, let's look at the fact, Maul's still going to be here when Morrowind releases. So are people going to change that up? Like, when people were doing things prior to this set or that setup, they were getting it done. Now, there's just a lot of builds that make things a lot easier and a lot more, functional in trials. But I think definitely I'm looking forward to the Warden heal build, getting people out of that state of mind that you have to have a Templar healer. So kudos, devs. The tank. It looks like the tank is going to be very interesting. Very going to juggle a lot. When we're taking a look at, passives and potential build options for the tank. Frost ability is going to have a lot of your resistance, and then a couple of the other abilities is going to benefit you towards recovery and utilities for your party. So the tank's got a lot of pull from all three resources that it can utilize towards tank builds. So I kind of like that. It's not one directional. Stamina. Stamina DPS is going to be interesting with this. Definitely, I think, more feral base, with the pet class. But definitely, they have a couple of different things that they could pull from in the other two trees and give them, some utilities and some other advantages for builders and stuff like that. Magicka class DPS. Two different directions. You can go Frost, or you're going to be able to go Nature DPS, or a mix of the two. I think Frost, a lot of people have been wanting Frost Magicka damage. I think the only thing I'm looking at is the lack of abilities that it's going to lend directly. But I think add the Destruction Staff with the Frost Staff, that makes up for it. Now, the Frost Staff, though, gives a shield on a heavy attack. So the DPS kind of, lacks with the Frost Staff. So how are you going to make that up, compared to a lot of, Inferno Staff builds or Lightning Staff builds that have AoE builds? I don't know. I feel that the devs are going to have to do something to give the Frost builds, Magicka Frost builds, a little oomph in that passive. They have to make some sort of adjustment. The 6%'s good, but keep in mind we don't have spell damage. We don't have max Magicka. So, and add the passives, the abilities to the Destruction Staff. It's kind of a little disappointing. But I think on the polar opposite end, the Nature Magicka builds, which will give some self heals and give not the Nature, but Feral, which is the Fletcher flies and all of this, is going to work out more for Magicka builds. Hybrid builds, you can go so many directions. Of course, you always could with every class, but I think with the Warden, a lot of hybrid builds make it a lot more attainable, especially for solo play and especially for PvP. And especially in normal dungeons, you can play around, get a couple builds going on, and mess around with it. So there it is, guys. I just wanted to put this out there. Sorry I got DC'd and you guys staring at a black screen listening to me read. But I wanted to cover this video and, just kind of go over it. Like I said, I will link the forum, the link to the forum so you can review this yourself. But it's going to be interesting. So I want to keep people updated about what's going on with Morrowind. The countdown, we're looking at another almost less than 2 months for the release. It's getting very exciting, guys. I'm looking forward to it. If you have any questions or comments, please post below. I do want to thank you all for watching, and once again and always, have a nice day.